Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks, and I'm making this video for all gay men. Dear gay men, I see you night after night drinking yourself into a stupor, trying your best to be seductive and alluring to all the boys you meet. I see you going from venue to venue, club to club, bar to bar, looking for love. I see you trying to post stories on Instagram and Facebook to try to make other people think that you have a full life. I see you leading with lust in your eyes, leading with your dick, leading with your ass, leading with your parts instead of leading with your heart. I see you going from distraction to distraction to distraction to try to make yourself look less alone. I can see the intense loneliness on your face. You can't hide it. I can see it. I see how you go to clubs and bars and you'll nurse a beer in your hand, a drink. One becomes two, two becomes three, to the point where you are intoxicated beyond belief. I see that you use drugs, weed, xylazine, fentanyl, crack, heroin, K2, crystal meth, anything just to fill the void, anything just to avoid dealing with the reality that you are alone and you are lonely, and it shows. Dear gay men, I know it has not been easy for you at all. I know it's been a rough ride trying to find love in a world that continues to try to hurt you, in a world that doesn't really know who you are or want to know who you are. It can be a very isolating experience. I know the pain of loneliness. I know the pain of onlyness, feeling like you are the only one with your identities. Everyone has a different identity, and we're all seeking representation in the world. And many of us do not find this representation. So what we do, we turn inward. We drown our sorrows in anything that will help to alleviate the reality of being lonely. We lose ourselves in partner after partner, tryst after tryst, casual encounter after casual encounter. We go online, we go on the apps, we go on Grindr, Jacked, we go on Scruff, we go on all these apps inside people's DM looking for a quick hit, a rush, a dopamine fix, some quick encounter that will help take away the pain. We numb the pain with a series of boys and empty relationships. We are constant and we are known for going from relationship to relationship to relationship. We have serial relationships, revolving doors. We're never satisfied. Never. Our appetite for attention, our appetite for lust, our appetite for what we think is love is never satisfied. Thing is, we can have the love of our life and it means nothing because we have not yet learned how to love ourselves. And even when we do love ourselves, we still have to think or deal with, actually, We still have to deal with other boys and men who don't love themselves. So we have all this love inside of us, and we try to offer it to others, but they haven't done their work. And so it's this revolving door. Finally, we see some semblance of healing, only for it to be interrupted by some other man's trauma, some other man's untreated trauma, their unhealed wounds. And we go from person to person to person, searching for a connection. And it's to the point where we hit a wall. We hit a wall. We realize that nothing fills us up. We go through a sense of withdrawal. We feel lost. We feel hurt. We feel angry. We feel sad. We feel alone. Many of us struggle with suicidal ideations. Many of us wonder, what's the point of going on living if you have to live this way? Many of us seek temporary escape in video games, anything that will just desensitize us to the reality of being empty, of feeling empty, of being lonely. And I think, to be honest, with most gay men, loneliness is the absence of connection, true connection. And the one place that we don't really look is God. We don't look to God. Many of us question if there is a God. We wonder, if there is a God, why does he allow us to go through such hell? Why does he permit us to see such hurt? Many of us wonder why he hates us. But all these things are misconceptions. All these beliefs are false beliefs. God does not hate us. God calls us in. He calls us in to reflect on how our behaviors impact his design for us, his desire for us. His desire for us is to live a long, healthy, happy life. Many of the behaviors that are synonymous with gay life challenge this desire. Many gay men are now laying in the morgue behind their recklessness. Let's just call it what it is. It's recklessness. They're laying in the morgue behind someone else's trauma. You know? Me, I lived this life for 16 years. 16 years. 2007, I came out of the closet and I took to the ground running. You know? But I realized my experience is not unique. Many of the gay boys and men that I have talked to, they share the same experiences to varying degrees. You know, they all struggle with feelings of loneliness. They all struggle with addiction. They all struggle with just fear. They all struggle with trying to find true love. You know, they find love for the night, but that's not love. It's lust. You know? Many of the men who will put you in a hospital bed will not be there to stand beside you. Many of the men responsible for your diagnoses will not be at the clinic with you to help you get treatment. I always say this: you were never survived by the people you would have died for. Let that sink in for a moment. The next time you're reaching out for that man on Grindr or Jack'd, you are never survived by the man or men you would have died for. I look at obituaries now. I don't know why, it's just a morbid fascination. But I always look at who these people are survived by. They're always survived by family. I look at gay men and who are they survived by? They're survived by their pets. They're survived by mother, father, sister, brother. They're never survived by the men they would have died for. Never. So it's to the point, and of course you can say, well, who's sending the obituary? A lot of gay men, their family doesn't recognize their relationships. So of course their obituaries don't include a partner. But at the same time, there are families who are accepting. And still these men, they're never survived by the men that they loved, the men that they cared for. And so it's an empty life. Empty. So my thing is this. Where do you go for purpose, for meaning? You have to turn to God. I think that He is the only answer because He's the only one that picks up your calls. He's the only one that answers. And it may not seem like He is answering directly in the moment, but once again, when you work in harmony with your prayers, how many of us are out here praying for things and then working against our prayers? We're praying for freedom. We're praying for this. We're praying for that. But we are working against our prayers. We're praying for genuine love. But yet and still, when love does come our way, it may not look like the love that we want. And so we chase it away. This life glorifies superficiality and frivolity. And the thing about it, as you get older, you start to realize that this life does not really speak to you and speak to your needs. See, in your 20s, of course, you want experience. You want novelty. You want fun. And so, of course, gay life seems fun, but as you mature and want to build a real future, you start to realize that this life is not conducive to that desire. And so what ends up happening is that you have to rethink things. You have to rethink where you're going. A lot of what I experienced was a result of confusion. A lot of what I experienced was the result of not having a proper, healthy, masculine role model in my life. My identity suffered because of my father's absence. We never really talk about that. Absentee father trauma and how that really affects a young boy, even into adulthood. How his manhood is always deferred because of his father's absence. How a boy child is murdered when his father leaves the picture. We never talk about that. And even when the fathers are, present physically there, they're not emotionally present. They have emotionally checked out. They act as satellite dads that hover over the family, but they're never really invested. And emotionally, they don't connect with their sons, leaving their sons abandoned and unable to connect with the beauty of masculinity in a healthy way. So it's these things that we have to all contend with to a certain degree. And it's hard. It's hard. And I get that. I know that many gay men are out here struggling with identity, trying to find their spirituality, trying to reconcile their sexuality with their spirituality. And at times, those two things make strange bedfellows. They don't always get along. Hence the conflict, you know? And so I just feel personally, after being chewed up and spit out by the life, and I always say this too, I always say that, the gay life quit me. These men quit me. They kicked me out. Like I don't have any gay friends anymore. None. The people that I once identified with and cared for, they have shown so many times who they were. And so I had to cut them loose. And was it easy? No. It hurt. But it was a wake-up call. It was God clearing the way. I know that He's working something in me. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what. But I know that there's something brewing inside my heart. And it's a shift. It's a shift because I can no longer participate in the life I once, I wouldn't even say enjoyed, the life I once occupied. I can no longer do it comfortably. And so I'm encouraging all gay men out there who are struggling, please turn your lives over to God. Let Him fill you up. Let Him find space in you for His love. Let you welcome that space. We are all too willing to be stretched out by other boys. All too willing to have our holes stretched out by other boys, being receptacles for other boys. We need to let God fill us up, because that's all we're going to continue to be, receptacles. And what I've noticed is that many of the boys out here, there are some gay men, they're looking for love, connection, praise, validation, attention. And there are other gay men who are looking to exercise their rage and their demons. They're looking for revenge, payback, power, control. They're looking to transfer all the anger that they had towards their fathers onto these new men, onto their lovers. And what ends up happening is that they're just humiliating these boys. I've seen it, the degradation. Treating these boys any kind of way, turning them into toilet bowls, into latrines. What's that? Do gay men even make love anymore? Or is it just wild, violent lust? Do we as gay men know what it means to make love anymore? When was the last time you made love? I don't even remember the last time I made love, unless I made it up in my mind. When I was with somebody, I made it up in my mind, created a fantasy, made it seem like I performed the act of making love, but it wasn't love. It was just wild lust. Put on your pants, go on home. So it's just a lot to think about. And this is what is convicting my spirit to move in a different direction. Right now, I am being convicted, and I am being charged with the responsibility of healing myself to wholeness. Healing myself to wholeness. That's what I want, to be whole. Not in pieces, broken, going from this place to that place, searching for love and all the wrong. I just can't. And so there comes a point where you hit a wall. And many of us have yet to reach that point. Many of us are on the verge of that. Many of us are just waking up to the reality that how we have been living is not fulfilling. It's creating empty spaces within us. And we keep on trying to fill those spaces with distractions and just mind-altering substances, anything to take us outside of ourselves, when the reality is we need to stay inside. We need to stay inside ourselves, and we need to pray to God and learn how to lean into His strength. lean into His will for our lives, because obviously our will is not working out well. Let's be real. Is our will working out well? Are we any happier? Are we any more fulfilled? At least if we're doing God's will, we know that we're doing something that will lead us closer to what He wants and eventually closer to the prize of everlasting life, as opposed to what we're working on now, which is everlasting death. So I might as well be suffering with a purpose, as opposed to just suffering needlessly in vain, chasing after ghosts of men who continue to try to ghost, who continue to haunt, who continue to play games, who continue to give breadcrumbs and bench us and zombie and act crazy towards us and dismiss us. And who wants that? Who wants that? That is not a real life. And all it's doing is emptying our spirit and ruining us for the love that really wants to love us, the love that will eventually come. There's so many men out there, and I'm speaking to gay men right now. There's so many gay men who have been ruined for love as a result of their investment in these toxic relationships. They've been ruined for love. Now someone comes up trying to genuinely love them, they won't be able to receive it. Their receivers are all jacked up. Their perception is distorted and disfigured to the point where love cannot plant itself comfortably in their minds. They can't fathom it. Their heart is so distorted, twisted, crooked, full of thorns and thistles, dry. They can't receive love anymore because someone broke them so bad and ruined them for love. And so it's a shame. And this is why we need a higher power. This is why we need good, orderly direction. This is why we need God. Because only He can restore our heart back to working condition. Only He can restore our mind back into working condition. Because right now we're working with half a brain and half a heart. And that's reality. We're just getting by right now. This is survival mode. But we want to live. We want to live in true love. That's what we deserve. And so I encourage everyone out there, please, all the gay men out there, consider this. You want to live in love, don't you? Please live in love. God is love. Let Him love on you. And so I hope that this was helpful. I love y'all. I love y'all so much. And this is why I'm taking the time to do this. Because I know how much of a struggle to trust and believe. I know. I am there with you in the trenches right now. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't know exactly what God has in store for my life, but I'm still trying. I'm still here. I'm still here battling. So just know that you're not alone. And so I wish you all a successful journey. I love y'all. Peace.